Hi, fifth graders. Welcome to your first art project from home. We're going to be drawing some futuristic cities. So I'm going to share some pictures with you of some cities that I want you guys to see. And then we are going to get started right away. The one thing you guys are going to need to get is a piece of white paper, a pencil. If you want a ruler, you can get a ruler. And then you can also later on use markers and black markers if you've got them available. All right, so you might have to stop the video and go and collect paper, pencil, and some markers if you can find them.
All right, so fifth graders, if you look at the screen, the title of our first project is Futuristic City Drawings. Futuristic meaning in the future, kind of a fantasy, space age, something you would kind of dream about. So for this project, I already mentioned that you're going to need paper, a pencil, and if you have colored markers and maybe a black marker, that would be really beneficial, because your project will be fine if you just draw it in pencil, but it's really going to pop out and look a lot more interesting if you are able to outline it with black marker and add some color to it. But don't worry if you don't have markers at home, pencil will be just fine. So if you look at this drawing right now, it's a cartoon drawing of a futuristic city, and it was inspired by science fiction with its rocket ships and its floating cars and the kind of the weird, strange shaped buildings. Now, the art teacher that I kind of got the idea for this project from, she had actually really liked the TV show Futurama, and she had kind of looked at this picture, which actually is a little blurry on my screen. I don't know if it's blurry on your screen, but you can see here the flying dogs and all the weird shaped buildings and the signs. I like how this one is colored in. This one also has a lot of layers of imagery in it, and that gives it a real sense of depth. You can see there in the far background, there is like a silhouette of a city skyline that's done just in gray, and that adds another layer to this drawing. This one I thought would be interesting for you guys to see. It's a cartoon depiction of a future city, and you can see the flying cars again, and then you can see down on the street, it's not just humans, but there's like monsters and aliens walking around. I thought that was kind of a cool look. This is a simplified drawing of a futuristic city, and yours are going to look much like this, but I think you can do yours a lot more details, add a lot more details to them, because it's the details that are going to add a lot. So we're going to start this in just a second. You're going to need a piece of paper, white paper. If you could get a big piece of paper, that's great. Otherwise, just a small piece of paper is fine. And along the bottom of the paper, we're going to be drawing a series of skyscrapers, of buildings, and we're going to use unusual shapes: ovals, squares, triangles, diamonds, rectangles, all shapes that you guys can do. And we're going to be building these kind of whimsical skyscraper buildings. That's step one. Next, what you're going to do is behind that first layer of buildings that you draw along the bottom of your paper, you're going to draw a couple of floating highways, roadways that you've got kind of raised up off the ground. And this is going to give your city that futuristic feel to it. And you'll have to draw some vehicles. We'll kind of talk about drawing vehicles. And then the next step after you draw a couple of highways is to draw a few more buildings behind the first layer of buildings, behind that highway. And that's that overlapping of images. Now, overlapping shapes in art creates a sense of depth. So if you guys look at that picture on this slide on the left, it's a forest scene, and you can see there's trees that are close to you there, then there's trees in the middle, and then there's some little gray trees way in the back. And it's this layering of images that give you that sense of depth, kind of like you could walk into that deep, dark forest. Okay, and the apples that are on the right-hand side of the screen are also layered, and you can see that there's an apple in the front and apples in the middle, and then apples at the back, and that gives it a sense of depth. You're going to be adding all the details like vehicles, signs, antenna, satellites, windows, lots and lots of windows. You can add a little bit of color here and there. Now this idea I did borrow from another art teacher, and she has the website Deep Space Sparkle. So along the bottom edge of your paper, okay, you're going to draw about 3 or 4 buildings, okay? So I'm going to write down here at the bottom edge of my paper, I'm going to draw with a pencil a couple of buildings, and I'm going to use kind of some weird shapes. And maybe this one has a curve on it. Maybe then it has a tall part of the building that comes up. And maybe it's got 3 towers on the top. Okay, now feel free to just use freehand this, but if you wanted to, you could always take a ruler to make straighter lines, but feel free to use however you want. Now my next building, I think I'm going to make really, really tall here. Just kind of a rectangle. Might erase that and make it a little straighter. Maybe I have got a big V shape here. And on top of that is a big circle. Oh, I like that. Okay. And then over here, maybe I've got a building that starts off with a curve, and then it's got a straight line, and then so that's my first line of buildings. You don't have to worry yet about adding any windows or anything like that. So I had a couple of practice ones I had done. So here's one, here's a layer of buildings, okay? And then the reason I like having it outlined in the black Sharpie is then you can really, really see it. So you guys can see those buildings really, really good. I like this one that I drew because it has like a sign on the top. I might do that on my practice one actually. I kind of like this one here. Maybe this one right here has 2 posts with a big billboard on the top. Okay, so step 1 is to draw 3 or 4 buildings along the bottom of your paper. They go up pretty high though, so they go up pretty high. Now across your paper, you're going to draw at least two raised floating highways. So I'm going to start over here. I'm going to draw one line kind of going down, and maybe it goes back up, goes up here behind this one. Maybe it goes right over here and then up. Okay, so it goes all the way across my paper. Then there's going to be the second line. It's a road, so it's got to have some width to it. I'm going to be kind of following along here. And then maybe about right here it branches off, and there's one side that goes down here. And then there's one side that goes up here. So I've got those 2 highways. And then maybe I've got one more floating highway up here. It's up a little higher. And it goes, it's pretty straight, and then it goes up. And I've got to draw a second line for that highway too. And I've got to kind of draw it so that it's behind all these other shapes. So I had to kind of draw in between all these little pieces so that it kind of continued on. Okay, so now I have my line of 3 or 4 buildings along the bottom. Now I've got a couple of raised highways, and sometimes it's good to kind of go like this. You can kind of get an idea of what they are. Those are my little floating roads. It's kind of fun to add the vehicles and things like that to it too. Okay, and now after you've drawn your line of buildings and floating roads, then you're going to draw another line of buildings. Now this line of buildings does not have to go all the way to the bottom of the paper. I'm going to actually start them right here. Here's going to be one of them, and it's going to be kind of in between these 2 buildings, and it's going to partly get covered up. It's going to go behind that road right there. It's going to go up here, and maybe we'll go like this. Maybe the top of it is a giant triangle. Maybe it disappears right there, so you can't see it over there. Okay, so that's another building right there kind of hiding out. There's another building over here kind of in between, and it's starts off kind of as a regular skyscraper. It goes behind here, and then it gets up here, and it's a series of circles, and reappears here. There's all my, that's that building there. And then over here, I'm going to draw, it's going to have a bridge on it. It's got some weird shapes down here on the bottom. And then it's got a straight area here. And then maybe it's got a couple of towers right up here that are really tall. Everything's got to be layered, and it's got to be partly hidden and peeking out behind other things. And then up here, maybe it's got a couple of big antenna. Maybe this is like a broadcasting studio for a, maybe it's got NBC here. Okay, right there, partly hidden. Okay, and so now you've got the basic outline of your city. Okay, now just to show you guys, so here is a city that I have done. For some reason, it's kind of showing up reversed right on here. So the signs that I have, which I have shoes company for rent, for some reason everything is being reversed on my camera. But now the next step is to add in all the windows, the signs, cars, floating saucers, spaceships, rockets. The other thing is to make some of your buildings look three-dimensional, to look like they have some depth to them. Here's what you're going to do, okay? You're going to take your buildings that you had drawn out, okay, just like this, and you're going to add some angled lines. So at the top of this one, if it's in the middle of a page, you can kind of angle in and angle in right at the top edge, and then draw a line going back like this. Okay, if it's on this side of your paper, you're going to kind of draw a little extra bit along one side, so it looks like it's got a thickness to it. And I don't know if you guys can see that. On this side, you might even have a little bit of this side of the building showing. Okay, and then on this side of the paper, you would come in on this side. So you might see a little bit here, you might see a little bit on that edge, maybe you'd see a little bit on this side. It's always the inside edge. So the center of the paper, anything that's on this side, it's on this edge, like that. And then if it's on this side of the paper, it'll be on the inside edge towards the center of the paper, where you'll add a little echo line just along the edges, just basically a little echo shape right along the edge, and that gives you the sense that there's a thickness to your buildings, okay? Now, this one in the center are a little bit different because you can't see either side of it because it's in the center of your paper. So on the tops of things, that's where you angle in, and make a line across. So right here on this edge right here too, I can angle in, and make a little line across. Now, if this is too difficult, because of the 3D stuff, is a little bit more difficult for you guys to do at home, just watching me like that. But if you think you can add a little bit like this, you guys go ahead and add some. But if you can't add all the three-dimensional stuff, that's a little bit more challenging. I might be able to see a little bit right here too on the side of that bridge. Hey, but you can see there that I added those little edges, and that makes it look more three-dimensional. And I'm going to take my marker and outline those so you can kind of see what that will do to it if I outline those little edges I gave it. So if it's in the center of the paper, if it's right in the center, I usually angle in and angle in. Okay, so you can see where I angled in and angled in, and then I draw a line straight across. Here I angled in, and drew a line straight across. And then if it's on the outer sides of your paper, you're basically going to add a little echo line on the inside edges towards the center of the paper. So this shape has an echo line on the inside edge, and the other side will have an echo line on the inside edge here. Okay, I can see a little bit there. Okay, so here are my buildings. And then the next step is to draw the raised highways. Okay, and then the next step is to draw some more buildings back there. So what I'm going to do now with this picture and this picture right here, and just to show you this one, your next step would be to add in the floating roads, right? Okay, so I might draw a couple of floating roads. And adding all these layers of detail is going to give your city so much more interest. It's going to be so much more interesting for people to look at because it'll be like so unusual. They'll be like, oh, this is so interesting. There's windows, there's signs, there's like little floating cars, and it's going to give it a sense of depth because you've layered all these shapes over on top of each other. So the road is behind these buildings, and then you're going to draw more buildings behind the roads. Okay, and your buildings can be any shapes. They can be ovals, they can be diamonds. I think this one I'm going to make a big diamond up here. That'd be kind of cool. Okay, so now when you have all these buildings, you're going to start to add in signs and windows. So I might come in here in this building right here and just use little dashed lines. And this is where it might take you a little bit of time. And I'm going to be letting you guys kind of do this on your own. And I'll keep going so I can show you guys all the details. But when you get done, it'll look more like this, where you have tons of windows, tons of detail, antenna, little flying ships, a couple of ways to draw cars. Okay. So let me set this aside for you. So you can draw, an easy way to draw cars on your highway, your raised highway, is to kind of make a long round shape like this, okay? Just kind of like a flat oval. Make a dome for the car, okay? And then to draw a couple of wheels, okay? That's an easy way. You can make a whole line of cars along your highway by making that little sausage shape, a dome on the top, and then some wheels. And then I like to, inside the cars, I'll just do a little circle with like 2 lines like that. So if I put a little thing like that inside my car, it looks like there's a little person in there. Okay, it's a little hard to see here, but a little, I'll bring those up higher so you can see those little people in their cars. Okay, now another thing you can do is more like a saucer shape like this. So you do a flat oval, okay, and then draw a line down, okay, make another curve across, make a dome, and then give it some little legs that it's floating on, and that could be like more like a flying saucer. A lot of times if you have flying cars, they look more like rockets and they'll have fins. At least that's what a lot of times you'll see in the science fiction stuff. So you could have a car that's just got a pointed front to it and then give it a narrow back. It almost looks like a fish actually with the fins and everything. So I have a pointed front. Then you could create a windshield along one side. And then in the back, you could create kind of just a kind of a flame look, like it's got flames coming out the back, kind of like that. Okay, and then I like to draw a couple of fins. So that's like they're pointed backwards usually. There's usually one in the front. There might be one in the back. There could be a flying little spaceship for you. You might do something that has a long point. You have it be more rounded. You could have a couple of lines going off like this that gives you that sense that it's moving. Okay, you could have more of a rocket ship taking off from the ground. So you could have a domed rocket kind of coming up from the ground. Okay, create some fins on it, and then have it have kind of some blast off kind of explosions, all the gas that's escaping as it's burning and taking off from the ground. You could have lots of different little vehicles. So on my drawing that I did and that I outlined, I might add some lines in here for the road, and I might add some little cars, a bunch of them, kind of going along my road, and there's another one going this way. I might start keep adding the windows. I'll keep drawing on mine, and you guys can start drawing on yours. So and then lastly, if you have some color and some markers or crayons at home, you can add in some color. So you might want to have this be a red spaceship up here. You don't have to color everything, but you could add some color here and there. I think I kind of want the top of this building to be red too. You could also, if you had a black marker, but you don't have colored markers, you could color in certain areas all black. Okay, you could draw and color in some of your little cars that you've been drawing, different colors. Little truck over here. I started to draw a little park down here and started to add a few more buildings. I'd even add a few more buildings to the background, because the more layers you have on your city, the more interesting and amazing it's going to look. So I hope you enjoy this drawing activity of drawing your future cities with some fun vehicles and adding raised highways and signs and flying cars. So have fun with this one. I would love to be able to see some of your results.